Wyoming.
Mr. President, I rise to address the elephant in the room that almost no one is talking about. Everyone is talking about the debt limit, but almost no one is talking about the debt. I'm a rancher, and I often think about policy in ranching terms. This is all hat, no cattle politics. We're starting down a track of a $29 trillion national debt. Let me say that again, a $29 trillion national debt. When I first came to Congress, it was just under $10 trillion, which seemed at the time an insurmountable debt. Now we're getting closer to 30. Certainly if the spending that is being entertained by the majority party and the Biden administration passes, will be well over 30 trillion. In the immortal but edited words of Jimmy McMillan, the rent is too dang high guy, the debt is too dang high. Another sobering statistic, it was raised by the last speaker. In February, the Congressional Budget Office said that the national debt would surpass the economy's size this year, meaning the debt to GDP ratio has long been an indicator of the country's fiscal health, and countries have historically tended to decline once their debt surpassed their gross domestic product. This year, that country is us. It's the United States of America. Remember, countries historically decline once their debt surpasses their gross domestic product. That's what's happening here. It's a very sobering thought, but not a thought that is part of the debate for raising the debt ceiling. The debt ceiling increase that is being discussed now is so more spending can occur without addressing our debt to GDP ratio. We cannot go on like this. It is irresponsible at the deepest levels. Now, I understand and appreciate the concerns that have led to this short-term debt limit deal. But the fact of the matter is, unless we actually address the spending problems that are driving our national debt, and soon, we are already saddling future generations of people in my state of Wyoming and all the American people with a debt that they will never be able to repay, and soon interest payments on that debt will crowd out other spending. The only reason it hasn't happened already is because interest rates have been relatively low. But we have to pay interest on our debt before we pay other things, including the things that are in the majority party and the Biden administration's $3.5 trillion plan. I believe this is unforgivable. Now, I'm new to the Senate, so I was not here the last time we had to address the debt ceiling issue. But the last time it came up, it was Republicans who were the majority party and were on the dance floor by themselves. Since Republicans were in power in the Senate, Democrats left the Republicans to dance by themselves and raised the debt limit alone. So anyone talking about this issue today needs to recognize that history. It's normal for the party in power, where now the Democrats control the House, the Senate, and the White House, it's normal for them to raise the debt ceiling. The problem is that both when Republicans have been in the majority and have raised the debt ceiling, and now Democrats are in the majority and are going to raise the debt ceiling, neither party seems to talk about the debt. They only talk about raising the debt ceiling. It's really kind of shocking that the main focus of this debate, whenever it occurs, is never on how we got here. It's never on why we spend too much. It's never on the debt itself. It's always on just raising the ceiling or suspending the ceiling so we can spend more, so we can run up more debt, so we can have higher interest payments that can crowd out other spending, that can create the vicious cycle that creates deficit after deficit after deficit. Our colleagues on the left can throw back at any Republican here that spending has gone on like drunken sailors, even among Republicans, and they're not wrong. And also, I mean no disrespect to the Navy in referencing sailors. Happy birthday to the Navy, celebrating its 246th birthday yesterday. There is a lot of blame to go around here. What I would like to see us do is get together, both parties, all colleagues who are interested in this subject, come up with a way to address our debt, to balance our budget, whether it's freezing spending or addressing our trust funds or recognizing how we can fix our entitlement programs or how we can make the Social Security fund solvent, which we know how to do and do not have the political courage to do. We have to contain these massive interest payments. We must start addressing this issue. Earlier this year, I proposed the Sustainable Budget Act to create bipartisan solutions to our long-term spending. The Sustainable Budget Act should be on the table. My colleagues, Senators Romney and Manchin, also introduced the Trust Act to shore up the long-term fiscal solvency of our trust funds. That's another bill that should be on the table at the same time that we're debating raising the debt ceiling. Both of these ideas are worthy proposals that we should be discussing now on a bipartisan basis. Because this problem isn't one that only affects one party. When the time comes to pay the bill, our debt holders don't care, won't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. They only care about getting paid. And we're swiftly approaching a time when we will be unable to do so. You know, one of the reasons that I became so interested in digital currencies, in non-fiat currencies, is because they're not issued by a government. Bitcoin is not issued by a government. So it's not beholding to the debts that are run up by governments, including the greatest government that's ever existed on the face of the earth, the United States of America. The United States of America is now at the point where our debt exceeds our GDP ratio. It is the point at which nations decline. If we're going to let the dollar decline, having the lessons of history in front of us and failing to act, we're truly irresponsible. In the event that that contingency occurs, I want to make sure that non-fiat currencies, currencies not issued by governments, currencies not beholden to political elections, can grow, can allow people to save, can be there in the event that we fail at what we know we have to do. There's no proof yet in the 21st century that we're going to make this right. Time and again, in the US House and the Senate, time and again, presidents of both parties have run up the debt irresponsibly, with no plan to address it. So thank God for Bitcoin and other non-fiat currencies that transcends the irresponsibility of governments, including our own. That is an indictment of our responsibility. Democrats and Republicans, presidents and Congress, our responsibility to address this looming, predictable, massive issue. Thank you, Mr. President. I reserve the balance of our time.